Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Portia Baxter, founder and lead communicator of The Wild Ones Co. So I wanted to come to you for episode 2 this week and just share a little story about someone I like to call Rosie. So I've actually changed her name just to protect her security, but I wanted to share her story because it's really powerful and it's something that really impacted me in my life as an everyday evangelist. And as you know, if you've ever seen any of the Wild Ones Co videos, this is all about living the life of the evangelist in everyday life, how to share the gospel without being weird. So I'm going to tell you a story about how I actually did this, because who am I to teach you how to share the gospel if I'm not doing it myself in real life? So a couple weeks ago, I went to Target. I was just having a craving for their dark chocolate brownie bites. Oh, so good. Okay, so I went in, I got the brownie bites, I came back out of Target. It was like 9 o'clock at this time, and where I live in Minnesota, it was chilly out. And so, just gonna straighten this a little bit, it looks kind of crooked. And so, I got the brownie bites, I came back and sat in my car, and I ate one, and they're like about this big, right? So I ate one, and then it was so good. And why I ate in my car was because I have 3 kids. They're 2, 4, and 6. And I did not want to share the brownie bites with them. I was like, no, I earned these brownie bites. I'm not sharing them. So I sat down in my car, I ate the brownie bite, and I was like, that was so good. I think I might just have one more. And so I took a second bite into the brownie. And all of a sudden, I heard the sound of the back door of my car opening. I drive an SUV, I've got 3 car seats in the second row, and that passenger side back door to my SUV opened. I turned around and I look and see somebody who is completely strung out. It reminds me of all the people that I used to hang out with when I was a meth addict. And it was terrifying. This person looked like they had been up for days, hadn't eaten a meal in a very long time, was all dressed in black, just this dark presence about them. They had a bag, a handbag with skulls all over it, and I was just like, holy cow, like I'm about to get murdered or robbed. And I really thought that my life was in danger for a brief second there. And I just sat there in shock. Like I stared at her and I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And to my delight, she said, oh my gosh, wrong car, I'm so sorry. Slammed the door and walked out. And I just sat there with like enough adrenaline coursing through my body to like run a triathlon or do a triathlon. And I was just like literally shaking, because I thought I was gonna get robbed. I really did. And I sat there in the parking lot. I don't even think I finished that brownie bite. I was just like, I needed a minute for the shaking to stop and for my heart rate to come down and for me to come back to reality of like, what is going on with this situation? And so the next thing that happened was I decided I was just gonna take a deep breath, say a prayer, and thank God that I didn't get hurt, and I was gonna drive my car out and go home. But as I was leaving the parking lot, I began to see this woman who had come into my car on accident, waiting for a ride, and she was just roaming aimlessly in circles around the parking lot. And it's winter in Minnesota, and it's getting kind of cold, and I don't know, it was like the Lord just spoke to my heart and said, like, you need to go talk to her. And so I was like, okay, yes, Lord. Like, anytime He tells me to do something, although it's not always my immediate response because I'm human, I want to always give Him my best yes. And so I was like, okay, I'll go talk to her. I didn't have an agenda. I had no idea what the Lord wanted to say, but I pulled my car over and I rolled down my window and I was like, hey. And she was like, hi. And I was like, are you okay? And she's like, oh my gosh, are you the girl whose car I just walked into? I am so sorry about that. I'm waiting for a ride. I thought you were somebody else. Please forgive me. And I was like, oh, it's all good, like not a big deal. And there was kind of this like awkward silence there. And I looked her in the eye and I just said, what's your name? And she said, Rosie. And I said, all right, Rosie, I just feel like I need to tell you something. I know this might seem really weird, but I have been sober from meth for 10 years. And she was like, oh, well, congratulations, that's really great. And she kind of gave me like this blank looking stare. And I was like, but there's more. And I said, the only reason why I'm sober today is because of Jesus Christ. And I saw this look come over her eyes as though the darkness that surrounded her was fleeing for the hills. And she like snapped out of whatever kind of drug-induced fog she was in. And she just started breaking down crying. And she's like, oh my gosh, Portia, you have no idea how much this means to me. She's like, just earlier today, I was praying and I was asking if God was even really real. Would he show himself to me that he is? And she's like, and the fact that you came and talked to me, like you have restored my faith. Through tears, she was crying down. And I just kept telling her, I got this like download of love from the Father's heart. And I just kept saying things like, he loves you. He's never given up on you. You're not too far gone. He forgives you. He hurts that you hurt. He sees all your pain. He's ready to embrace you with open arms. And she just kept having tears run down her face. And I just imagine how long it might have been since anyone gave her an encouraging word. And at that point, I just had to get out of my car. I couldn't stay talking to her through the window anymore. I needed to give her a hug. So I said, is it okay if I come out and hug you? And she was like, yeah, of course. And so I gave her a big mama bear hug, embraced her, even though she was probably older than me. I gave her a big hug, and we just cried together. And I cried, and I noticed that she had a cross tattoo on her face, and she went on to tell me more of her story, how she'd lost everything, and she used to have a really good life, and her husband were in ministry together, and then somehow she got into drugs and she started doing meth, and it took over her life, and she'd become an addict almost overnight, losing everything, how her mom had passed away and her husband left her and she lost her family. And then she told me how she had HIV and was having a hard time getting the help that she needed to get into a treatment program. And I told her about a treatment program in our area and asked her if there was anything that I could do to help her. And she was just like, no, I just really need to get in to see my doctor so he can help me get to, treatment so I can get my life turned around again. And I gave her my phone number. And, she doesn't have a phone, so I don't know that she would have a way to ever call me, but I gave her my number and said, you call me anytime. I can give you a ride to the doctor. I'll do what I need to do, to help you out. But she was just so touched, and she kept saying over and over how her faith had been restored and how grateful she was that I stopped to talk to her. And so then I was about to leave, but again, the Holy Spirit prompted me to ask her if she needed anything. And I was like, we're right here at Target, I can go in and get you something if you need it. And she's like, well, I'm really thirsty. I could use a drink of water or juice. And so I was like, done. Okay, let's go. Let's go in there and let's get you something to drink and something to eat. And she was like, well, I can't go in there because they kicked me out. And so they told me that I can't come back in. And I was just kind of mad for a minute, like it's so not fair. Like me in my, salon done hair and classy looking clothing, I could go like loiter in Target for 4 hours and sit on the bench and not buy anything and just roam the store, and probably nobody would even say anything to me. But because of the way that Rosie looked, everyone in the store and the management was telling her she had to go and back out into the cold and back out into homelessness and nothingness. And I'm just like, that's really crappy, that's so crappy. I hate that. And so I was like, all right, well, I will go in and get something for you. So I went in, I got her a couple of drinks. I got her a gift card to Target so she could buy some lunch the next day, or a hat and gloves or whatever she needed. And I gave her my number, and I gave her another big hug, and I told her I'm going to be praying for her. And I asked her if she was going to be okay and had a safe place to go, and she said yes. And so I left her there, and with tears in my eyes, I drove home thinking, wow, God, like, thank you so much for that encounter that I was able to talk to Rosie, and I don't know like how far her HIV has progressed. I don't know if while I'm recording this video she's still alive. I don't know if she's out there using. I don't know if she got the help that she needed. I don't know if she passed away. But all I know is she made an impact on me, and I made an impact on her. And that is a work of the kingdom. And all it was me saying yes to a prompting of the Lord to talk to somebody. So I just want to encourage you that you can go and do these things. You can go and talk to people. You can go and be a light. You can go and be a friend, and you can go and be a messenger of the gospel. And it doesn't have to be weird. It can just be in your everyday life where you're already going, what you're already doing, who you're already talking to, and the chance encounters that you might have along the way. So before we go today, let me just pray for Rosie and for all the Rosies out there, and for all of you watching this that want to be able to share your faith and want to be able to have more boldness. I want to say a prayer for you too. So, dear Jesus, thank you for Rosie and her life. I pray that you would give her life and life abundant. I pray that you would bring her freedom that lasts and a real relationship with you that is restored to what you originally intended for her, to walk in her identity as a child of God. I pray for everyone watching this video, Lord, and that you would use them to be your mouthpiece, Lord, that you would use them to be messengers of the gospel. Oh, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news of Jesus Christ. Lord, I pray that if anybody watching this video just happened upon it, is struggling with addiction, I pray that they would know that you are good and you are real, and that you are a God who pursues. Help us, Lord, to be bold in our faith and not to miss out on those moments when you're nudging us to share with people in our lives. We love you and we bless you, Lord. Amen.